Alright everybody, we are back with yet another video, and this is where you guys send in your struggles or your concerns through the anonymous Google form, and this is my attempt to try and help or at least bring awareness to the issues. And yeah, so let's get straight into it with this next one. So they said, "Hey Timmy, I love your idea and I'm happy to contribute to give you some more incentive for people who need somewhere to share their thoughts. For a long 3 years, I struggled with depression and constant bullying for 2 of those years. I definitely needed something like this back then, so I want to vent something fairly recent. I've been in a pretty big slump. I had a very rocky relationship that lasted for a very short period. It was very turbulent, and I spent every waking moment trying to keep them from flipping out, trauma and bipolar on her part. Both of us felt a genuine connection, but realized that we just weren't meant for each other where we were right now. I felt drained during the whole thing, and now I feel slightly worse, if that makes sense. Dual enrollment, having a job, and being in a band are all things I consider to be good, but I haven't had the time for these things, or the fun parts at least, in a while, and it's definitely taking a toll on me. My bad about the rant, and feel free to use this for a vid. Peace out, Timmy." Before I even begin to break down this message, I just want to applaud you for overcoming the challenges of depression and bullying. Those are extremely relatable and real issues that people do struggle with, and to hear that you went through that and you endured for 3 years, you are a very strong person, and I hope that you can take the time to acknowledge yourself and coming so far as you have already. But yeah, those 2 topics are entire videos in it of themselves. But for now, let's just stick with all the other stuff that you talked about. So to begin, I just want to say that I'm glad you're no longer in an unhealthy relationship. As you could tell by just that short experience alone, it was very emotionally demanding, and it was just overall draining, as you would later talk about and we will later discuss. But yeah, right now I just wanted to say that although it was a short experience, it's no matter how short the experience is, it still can be extremely influential on us as people. Actually, there was this one guy who I'd met only one night. I only had one night to speak with him, and we spoke up till 4 a.m. And that guy's words and the things that he told me, they still stick with me to this day, and that was years ago. And he very likely probably does not even recall that conversation, but even still, that one night stuck with me. So anyways, I don't know if you even care to have heard that, but yeah, it's important to learn from all of this, even if it wasn't a necessarily pleasant experience, because it's still very revealing as to who you are and how you handle certain people, and overall what sort of relationships are healthiest for you. I'm certain that you can reflect back upon this relationship, even though it was very brief, and think about certain things that you did or that she did that don't sit correct with you. You know that for you personally, that is something that was detrimental to your own health and probably hers as well. And that is something that we can learn from and apply to a future relationship, or just build upon from that experience. I know you later on in the message said how you still feel slightly worse, even though this whole thing is passed over, and you still remain feeling bad. Well, I don't really know exactly what you do feel, because feeling slightly worse, I don't know exactly how it is. I mean, I can apply it in the context of you feeling drained, but in that way, I know that even though this is all past and it's behind you, that still has stuck with you. And I know there's going to be some people who say, just get over it, right? But it really isn't that easy. Even after 3 months or 6 months or even 9 months, you will still carry that same experience. Now that you have that part of your past, it's never going to leave you. And that's not something to regret or be ashamed of. It's simply something that is, and something that is now part of you and shaping who you are. And the person that you're becoming is defined by these experiences. So the important part is to reflect and be able to confront these feelings. You don't want to shy away from just accepting, oh, I feel pretty bad after all of this, but I'm not going to question why, or I'm not going to think much into it. But what I am saying is that you should think into it. Of course, don't drive yourself crazy, but definitely do point out what was bad about that time of your life and that experience overall. And as I said before, just learn from it, and in time you will come to a place of peace and closure is what I'm looking for. Yeah, peace and closure, that is what you will come to. And you will move past this. Just know that there will come a time of your life where you're going to be in a healthy position that is past this. Like, for example, I'm sure there was something in your past before that at the time you felt it was an extremely big or defining challenge or issue that was occurring at the time. But now, of course, you're far past it and you've grown past it. And you took that experience and you allowed it to redefine who you are and your perspective on the world. I know I digressed on that last part there, but this part currently, I've actually recorded it about 3 times, but I keep retaking this recording because I don't exactly know how to say it and reword this. Like, I have a somewhat written script, a little bit, like notes that I'm reading off of, but I don't exactly know how to say this. I know that people will have differing views on this, and I know that this could be slightly sensitive in nature. Like, it's entirely acceptable to have different views about this, and it is, you're free to have those views. But before I get to that, I just want to say that people with issues, which is everybody, do deserve love just the same. You can love somebody aside from their issues, and always remember that you are not your issues. But anyways, the thing that maybe some people might have a different opinion on is that I've come to learn that at this point in life, we cannot be weighing one another down in our relationships, and nobody is going to be able to save someone else. You're not to be someone's knight in shining armor. True love isn't something that's meant to be draining, as you described. It's supposed to be replenishing. It's not supposed to be that the person you love, you're gonna throw away your whole life after, or you're gonna give all of your attention to and leave nothing else for no one else, not even yourself. That is not love. That's just practically being a slave, if we're being honest here. But yeah, a truly genuine and healthy relationship for you, especially at this time of life, will not weigh you down. And now, I understand that people do have struggles and do have issues, and it is extremely important for you to reach out, especially to the ones closest to you who genuinely care for you. And those relationships will help you, pick up your feet and keep going. But to specify, what I mean by the knight in shining armor is that you cannot be someone's single savior. You're not meant to be the one to pick up the other person entirely by yourself, okay? The reason why people are meant to have good support groups, such as their family or a good group of close friends, is because when you have a lot of people from different walks of life, different perspectives, they're uplifting you and reaching out with their hand, right? That is so much easier for you and for them to be supported and give support. Whereas if it's only one person who is dealing out the support to you, then that is all the, I wouldn't say responsibility, but all of the effort is placed on the one person. For example, to really put my point across, is that if you had 10 people who are giving you 10% of their support, then look at that, you have 100% of support from 10 different people. But if you only needed support from your significant other, then you are looking for that 100% in one single other person. And that is an extreme amount of pressure and stress and unnecessary emotional baggage to place on one person. And I'm not saying you're a burden in any way, okay? Please do not get it twisted. I want to clarify that your feelings and your struggles do matter. They are important to speak out about. But it is equally as important to consider the other person and know that you won't be saved by someone else, and they are not meant to be saving you. And by the way, I'm just speaking about like human people. I'm not talking about Jesus. If you believe in God or anything, that's like totally up to you. I'm not saying like Jesus can't save you. That's not anything what I'm saying. But I'm saying that a mortal person, right, a human being just like yourself, cannot be the one to save you, because we're not at that position in life, especially right now. Maybe down the road later on in like 20s and 30s, when we are more grounded and we do have a stable, healthy person we can come to. But right now, if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend and you were just dumping out everything on that person alone, then it can really add up and kind of compound into this just like heavy ball of stress that is just too much for one person to hold. But yeah, my main point with saying all of this, I know I feel like I spoke really, really long about absolutely nothing there, but my main point is that the best way to help somebody who is struggling is to have a large support group of people who will, help lighten the load. But you don't want to place it on one single relationship. And another analogy that could be made is if you placed all of that weight on one bridge, right? Then that bridge is very likely taking a lot more pressure. Whereas if you distributed the weight between 5 bridges, But anyways, yes, I believe I've made my point. Thank you. Right, I am back 2 days later, continuing this video, and the next thing I want to speak on is how you had said you felt very drained, especially during it, but also even still after. You still have this like feeling that you're drained still. And the thing I want to say is that I really do relate with this message, and especially all the messages that people have been sending in. I do really relate with all of it, and of course I do, because it's the human experience. For example, when I was in the relationship that I always talk about or bring up, I was very much so giving my 110% to the other person, and I was supporting them endlessly through their struggles. I was ready to just give up everything and give all that I could and more for this person and to be with this person. And the thing about that is, when being with somebody is your main responsibility, such as, it's taking priority above your own self, your own job, your dual enrollment, all the things that you listed, right? When being with somebody becomes your kind of full-time, like, not to say that they're a chore to be with, but, at the same time, it's like I said, you don't want to be weighing one another down. You want to be able to have your own lives and to continue living your life and having your job, your responsibilities, balancing all these factors together, and also having a relationship that lifts the load, makes things easier. You don't want to have a heavy relationship and then only continue to be weighed down by everything else. And anyways, yeah, if a relationship isn't really being a positive influence to you as a person, then I don't know. Of course, like I said, there's going to be rocky times in life and in relationships. And as you said, that was a very rocky relationship. Maybe you two thought, hey, we could totally make it through this trouble and this, turbulence that we have between one another. We can be healthy together, but of course we saw that that wasn't the case. And I'm not saying to immediately give up on a relationship when things start to get rocky. You don't want to be somebody who only loves someone in the easy times, because that also isn't love. You want to love somebody today, tomorrow, always, and you want to have that same feeling reciprocated. And when it comes to loving somebody even through the difficult times, that is totally viable and possible. You can love somebody even when things are difficult, but you do not want it to be more times difficult than the easy times. Like what I'm trying to say is that you got to start questioning if this relationship is truly healthy for you if you start to notice that, hey, it seems there are more times than not where I actually feel worse being with this person and this relationship, and I actually feel a lot more stress and anxiety because of this relationship. So yeah, and by the way, about that relationship I was in, she also had a lot of serious issues like the ones that you mentioned, bipolar and all this. I'm not saying she explicitly had those specific ones, but I'm saying she also had her own set of serious issues, which I do believe it is not my place to speak on, especially in a public forum like this. Of course, if it was more personal, then maybe potentially I might consider it. But then again, at the same time, since my identity isn't a secret, it's kind of like outing her or exposing her, which isn't the correct thing, at least for me personally. I believe it's not the correct thing to do, And but yeah, just know that I really understand where you're coming from and that time of life that you were in and the situation that was happening. And the thing about trauma and bipolar, like I said earlier about being the knight in shining armor, you can't be somebody's like therapist and doctor and their full support team and everything. It's exactly as I said earlier. I know I'm just restating, but this is kind of a refresher for myself as well, that you can't be somebody's sole line of help. You can't be that single form of help and aid, because people, like as that saying goes, it takes a village. It really does require the help from many different sources, and it is healthy to receive different perspectives. Like I didn't really say much when I was speaking there, and I know I also resaid a lot of things, but I already believe that this video is going to be a little bit more long. And yeah, if you feel like listening to all this, then go for it, but for the people who don't really care, then don't really listen. It doesn't really make a difference. But if even one person does find some value in the words spoken, then that's a success. Anyways, continuing on, something I want to speak on is that right now we're meant to discover, at least for me personally speaking, to discover and live and experience. And of course, if you disagree with anything that I say, then you're totally free to believe anything that you want. I am in no way correct, and this is just me personally speaking. But yeah, this the guy that I mention all the time, Woody's gamer tag, he often says that when you're around the ages of your teenage years or like early 20s, it's actually not the best to be with the same person throughout that time. You don't want to be, I'm him speaking. This isn't my words, but it's more so his kind of way of thinking. And it's like if you stayed in the same small town for your whole life. Some people, a very small percentage, I'm assuming, for them it is a beautiful thing to be in their small town all their life. They really do find that they love their small town, and they don't really care to go outside of their town or experience the world. It's not really meant for them. They just kind of settle for this small town, and they're comfortable with that, and good for them. It's total liberty to them. But then there's also many more people, I would say the majority of people, who it could be healthiest for them to get out of that small town. Let's say even if they do come back in like 10 years or something and settle down back in their small town, they at least had that experience of going out, and I'm certain that it shaped them to go out and experience so many forms of life and walks of life. And in the same way, when you apply that to things like relationships, you can see that if you were to be with the same person since you were a kid practically to as you're growing up, then of course you two could grow up alongside one another. And that's actually a sort of love that I kind of idealized when I was younger. And I've always wanted that kind of fairy tale of, best friends to lovers, or, being in love as a kid and then growing up together and everything and marrying one another. That was the kind of sort of perfect thing that I had wanted. But inevitably, I found out that was actually not what was healthiest for me personally. And I found out that maybe it is actually healthier for me to become a more established individual as I am on my own, and to discover more for myself and with myself, to better understand myself, and to eventually then come to a point where I can relate with somebody and they have also come to understand themselves as well. And there's a lot of people who feel the need that they always have to be in a relationship, or else it's like they're kind of worth less or something, or they are not as cool, I guess, as they could be, like just for their own self, not even for popularity or whatnot, but just to be in a relationship. That is something that people seem to need. And the thing about that is, rather than jumping to relationships or always desiring a girlfriend or boyfriend, then try and better the relationships that you currently have. Try and be a more connected friend and foster an environment with your friends and family that you can be intimate and close with one another and be better friends, I would say. Also, I think that was the first time I said for a long while. Anyways, I'm gonna recollect my thoughts real quick. But yeah, beyond just the whole idea of going out and experiencing, I would like to add on to that by saying that you should try and say yes to every opportunity. Now, of course, I mean every good opportunity, not do you want to hit this vape? Yeah, of course. No, not like that. There are opportunities that will come by in your life, and you might hesitate, and you might say, I could, but no, I don't really want to. Somebody could say, hey, would you want to try running a 5K right now? And you could say, I don't know, I don't think I can do that. Or you could say yes and say, yeah, I'll just go for it. I'll just try out and see. Maybe I could possibly do it, or I could show something of myself. I could prove myself wrong in some way, or show my capability. Not in a way that you're trying to prove anybody. I'm just saying, when you say yes to opportunities, you discover a lot more about yourself and life and the people around you. And the philosophy of my brother and also one of my friends, they kind of share the same thinking in that way. The philosophy is that they follow these 3 questions, and it goes something like, does it harm myself or others right now or in the future? Those are 2 questions, by the way. Does it harm myself right now, or does it harm myself in the future? And also others, by the way. But yeah, and then the other question is, will this make me feel genuinely fulfilled, or is it hurting my body/mind? And of course, you're not going to find fulfillment in every single opportunity. And even the ones that you don't necessarily believe will lead you to feeling very fulfilled, it's still good to at least try something, because you never know what that would lead to. You never know where that path is going to go. And yeah, I would say just taking care of yourself as you go through this life and continuing self-discovery prior to jumping into a relationship, which I'm not saying don't date or anything like that. You can do whatever you want, but say that if you're not able to have a healthy relationship with yourself and understanding yourself, then there is a high possibility that you are not totally capable, at least not to the fullest extent, of being that person for someone else, okay? I know there's like that question that a lot of people often have to discover more about themselves and the way they think, which is, can you love somebody without loving yourself? And I would say my answer to that question is yes, you can love somebody without exactly loving yourself, but when you do love yourself, you can love others much more genuinely and authentically, and in a very healthy manner that benefits both people. Some people may sometimes, think that taking care of themselves is a selfish thing to do, especially in a relationship, because sometimes that honestly does mean putting the relationship aside to take care of yourself, and that can be a difficult thing to do. And oftentimes when people find that difficult to say, hey, I really do need some time to myself, okay, then if you're not with somebody who's healthy and understanding, they'll take that as some sort of bad thing, like, hey, taking care of yourself is a bad thing. You need to take care of us before you take care of you, which is totally not the way to go, okay? You are not, well, first of all, a relationship is two people coming together. So if one part of that relationship is doing bad, then of course the relationship itself is going to do bad. You need those halves of the relationship to be wholes on their own. You need them to be whole people, so that when you two come together, you're not just two halves making one. You are one, you're each one making two, as in, some greater version of both of yourselves. And the book, The Celestine Prophecy, which one of my teachers a while ago had recommended to me, it speaks of that very well. Anyway, getting back on track, yeah, a lot of people do view taking care of themselves as a selfish thing, but in reality, it's probably the healthiest thing you can do for yourself. And when you do, it's like everything else in life kind of comes into place, And you have got to treat yourself the same as you would your relationship or any other person, because you have to recognize yourself as a person. And the analogy, when I was thinking more about this response, is a garden. Our relationships are like gardens, because you have to tend to your relationships and tend to the garden, and you have to take care of it in many multiple ways. And the same way that you would want to, tend to the garden of your relationship, right? And I'm sure that when you were giving all that you possibly could to that relationship, to your ex, you were making a beautiful garden, right? But you were not tending to your own personal garden. You were neglecting your garden and just primarily focusing on another garden. It's like you can't neglect yourself but be totally devoted to somebody else. That's just not a healthy way to go in life, and you just burn yourself out that way. You just feel drained, as you do right now, which, by the way, it's totally all right and understandable to still feel drained after all of this. And a difficult thing about when you break up with somebody, even if, no matter how short of a time period that relationship might have been, whether it was like a month or so, right, there's still going to be implications that could go on much longer than that, maybe even 3 months after. You still feel like, man, there are so many things I could have done differently, or which that you shouldn't look back and regret. You only can learn from the past experience, but something that you do definitely need to learn from this is to tend to your own garden and take care of yourself, and find somebody who understands that, yeah, we as individuals firstly must take care of one another. Take care of ourselves, and then we can be better able to take care of one another. And building on to that garden analogy, you could say that her roots were not properly healthy. You could put fertilizer, you could water them, you could do everything on the surface level to try and make it okay. But if the plant itself is unhealthy and not willing to get healthy, then there's not much that you can do about it. She has to be the one to actually want healing, she has to be the one to make the decision. And we can help people to get to the position they need to succeed, but ultimately they are the ones who need to choose for themselves to succeed or heal. For example, it's like you can provide medicine to a sick patient, but ultimately the patient needs to take it for themselves. They need to choose to want to be okay. And you can encourage somebody to climb a mountain, and you can support them the whole way through, but ultimately they have got to be the ones to climb it for themselves. You can't carry them up the mountain. What is that worth? They didn't experience any sort of challenge or didn't experience any growth. It was just a burden to you, literally. But yeah, what I'm saying is that people do make choices for themselves, and they make it of themselves. You don't choose for somebody else if they're going to be okay. And no matter what it is that you do, if somebody is unwilling to want to be better, then it's not much of your own choice or your own fault. It's not that you had done something or should have done something more. It's just that the person you were trying to help didn't really want help. And something that comes to mind is this Lego Ninjago scene at the end of season 5, the ghost season, and Moro is telling Sensei Wu that you can only save those who want to be saved. And that is extremely powerful to me, because it just goes to show that those who are unhealthy for whatever reason, whether that is they believe they'll never be good in any way or something, or they believe this is just the person that they'll always be, then it's really, you can't just go into their mind and reorganize things, right? They have to be the ones to come to a healthier point of life, and that could be a tough thing to come to terms with. Okay, one of the last things that I want to talk about is how the genuine connection that you felt with that person most definitely is to be found in others, okay? And I know that might come off initially as like, what? No. But to help put it into perspective, it's like we've all had friends, and we've all also had friends that have, left our lives, I'm assuming. And it's not that when you lose a friend, you think, oh, I'll never find another friend again. It's because that friendship exists among everybody. You can be friends with anyone, right? Anybody at all on the street you can make friends with, because that connection does exist in other people. It is there. It's just waiting to be found. And something that does come to mind is that there is a possibility that it could have been infatuation. And I'm not one to say what your feelings were. This is for you to decide. But maybe it really was just a short-lived passion for one another, but truly it wasn't anything that was going to last. But yeah, I'm certain that there is love that is out there for you and for anyone listening, and that love exists, the same way that friendship exists. And who knows, maybe if it is truly meant to be, then you guys will find your way back to one another once you've come to be in healthier positions of life as individuals. But also at the same time, please know that there is an entire world of other people out there, and this love that you did have, if it was real and true, it does also exist out there in other people. There is another person out there who can share that love with you and be genuine with you. And I'm gonna be honest, after the relationship I was in, it kind of redefined many things for me, and I would suggest to you to allow yourself to question and redefine what it means to love and to be with someone, and all these different ideas that you have about love and relationships and what it is to be in a healthy relationship. Right now, this last part that I want to speak on is near the end part of your message, when you were saying how you don't really have the time to, enjoy the fun parts about all this stuff that you love. And what I want to say is that you need to take a moment to slow down and really absorb yourself in this moment, okay? What I mean by this is to not be preoccupied with something else, okay? If you are doing band, then you want to give band your whole attention. Like, whatever it is that you're doing, you want to give this thing your full focus and attention, because when you do that, you can find appreciation and value in this current moment without having some other worry on your mind that's taking you away from it, And when you do this, you can actually be there and be present, and that really does help to enhance the satisfaction that you feel doing these things that you love. And yeah, just take the time to make things less about like a chore or something that you have to do, or you're doing because you have to, or it's like routine, and make it an opportunity to find value in life. If you're at your work or something and you have some time to just think or just embrace that moment, then do it, and find that value in life and make it valuable. And however you do choose to make it valuable or appreciate it, that is for you to figure out. And I know that might not be the best advice, but I do believe that you will find it in whatever form that you so choose and is best for you. Like, for example, my form of appreciation may not be exactly your own. Maybe my form is in writing, but yours is in just taking in the, sights or smells, or listening to a song in that moment that really captures it. But yeah, just slow down and take in the moment, man. And by the way, at the end when you said my bad about the rant, bro, I will always love the rant, okay? I will always prefer it. And as you can see, I also did respond with a rant of my own. I don't know how I spoke for about 40 minutes, but I'm now going to conclude this video with saying, if you are listening and you did listen to that whole thing, I appreciate you greatly. And not only that, but I hope you could have found some sort of value and time well spent from this experience. With that being said, I appreciate you greatly, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Please know that you are somebody who will find love. Well, actually, no, I will correct myself. The thing that I always say, instead of you will find love, love will find you. It is not something that you have to search for, but it will come naturally. And I'm certain that love exists among us all, and you will find that connection someday. It was not only in this relationship alone. I hope that you could have, gotten some insight out of this. And again, I wish you the best. Have a beautiful day, and know that I believe in you. Thank you.